Hello, 10-Minute Book Talk. We are so excited to be here today and wrap up 2022. I'm Katherine Reay. I'm here with Rachel Linden and Marie Bostwick. And we're going to share with you some of our favorite reads of this past year. And we are just anticipating even more greatness in 2023. So, Rachel, what did you love this year?
All right, Katherine, I'm going to be honest. I had a little bit of a desert of a reading year. I read a lot of books and a lot of them were good and fine. But in terms of books that I look back on, 10 or 5 months later and think, oh, I loved that. Yeah. There weren't a lot. But I will say that a bright light this year is that I'm leading a foodie book club. So it's a book club of ladies in my area, and we read food fiction or food memoir, nonfiction, fiction. And that has been a total joy. And then we make the food that's in the book and eat it.
I love this idea.
Half is eating and drinking wine, and then half is talking about the book, but it's delightful. And so we just read one that I absolutely adored that I'm getting for other people. And Marie, can you hold it up? And it's not a new one, but it is probably the best food memoir I've ever read, Tender at the Bone by Ruth Reichel. And I just thought it was delightful and fascinating. And she has such an interesting emotional thread throughout it. Very vivid writing, excellent food writing. So that one stands out. And now I have to figure out for the book club what I'm going to make from that book. So
I'm in the book club too. And we have to talk because I don't want to make the same thing as you.
Okay, take that off our 10 minutes, ladies.
It's great if you like food memoir, if you like vivid food writing. Tender at the Bone, so good. And then the other one is actually, this is an inspirational book. This is nonfiction, faith-based. It's called Every Moment Holy. And I've been doing it in the morning when I'm having coffee, looking out at the water, just sort of taking a few moments to kind of center myself for the day and pray. And it is by Douglas Kane McKelvey, and it's liturgy for modern life. And so it has these delightful things like a liturgy for washing windows or making a meal or doing laundry or keeping bees. And there is one for fiction writers. And there is one for the lament upon the finishing of a beloved book. So if you love books and if you are interested in kind of more nonfiction inspirational, this has been just delightful. Every Moment Holy, very sweet in a good way, just little reflections to start the day. Those are my two. Okay, Marie, what about you?
Oh my gosh. So I did not have a desert year of reading. I had so many books and it was really hard to so I narrowed my list down to 4, but there were a lot more I could have done. One of my very, very, very favorites is one of my very favorite writers, The Good Left Undone by Adriana Trigiani. I love a family saga. And I adored this one, set in Italy with a family who's jewelers to the Vatican. And I love the multi-generational cast. I love the wisdom of the older members of the family, and the writing is just luscious. If you're wanting to start off your new year with a book that is just will give you all the feels, but make you think and is uplifting, this is a really good one to begin with. Another book that I found I just kept thinking about. Can we see that there? Okay. Is The Emancipation of Evan Walls by our dear friend Jeffrey Blount. That was, I think, one of our favorite interviews.
I was about to say, go back and watch that video if you're interested, because it was wonderful.
So inspiring. We were all in tears. This is the story of a young Black man who is very gifted and very bright and struggles because people are trying to bring him down. Not just people, white people from in his own community. And he really struggles to find his way, but he does, in fact, find his way. So that was really wonderful. Another book I just love was Sister Stardust by Jane Green. This was just a really kind of I think I was really in the mood for a different era. I read a lot of World War II historical fiction and I like it, but this took me to the 60s. And that's just a fun, and it's actually something I've been really interested in potentially for my own writing, that era. but this was like full of drugs, sex, rock and roll, glamour. And it's really kind of a great coming of age story. An ordinary shop girl gets pulled into this world of rock and roll, and she's in way over her head. I really enjoyed this story. And then somebody else was going to pull up, because I gave away my copy of Perestroika in Paris. I have given so many copies of this book and shared it. It's Jane Smiley, and it's just a delightful book. When I first started reading it, it has a feel that it's almost like a children's book, but for adults. There are animals, and all the animals are talking. Perestroika is a racehorse that sort of wanders away from the racetrack and ends up living in Paris and meets other animal friends. And you think, oh, that's sort of weird and cute, but the animals all have different voices. And the raven in particular, I related to. The raven is getting older and talks a lot and feels like no one listens and no one cares. It's a lovely, lovely story. It's not very thick. If you need to feel better about things, read Perestroika in Paris. I loved it. Okay, now I'll shut up for a while.
I love it though. But speaking of animals that talk, one of my of the year, and I am almost at the end of it, and I just know it's going to be one of the best of the year, so I'm just putting it out there right now, even though I'm not at the end. The Octopus Talking, Marcellus, thoroughly enjoying his little chapters and the arc of this story. And a little bit like Rachel, I spent a lot of my time in nonfiction and research reading this year. And so those stories that I came across that really just enthralled me, there were fewer, it felt like, in 2022, but they also shone a little brighter, maybe because of that. This is one of them. And then Marie, I think you have the other for me. I thought Hamnet was fabulous. I thought the prose was fabulous. I thought the world was great. I looked at sort of Shakespeare and that time in a different way. I really got immersed in that story and loved it very much. Now there's one more, and I have it on my phone because I listened to it. We had a fantastic time chatting with Jamie Ford about the many daughters of Afong Moy. Incredibly powerful story. I listened to it on Audible though, with multiple narrators, and I loved that. I loved the story being given those different voices. I thought it gave it a really rich element to an already rich story. So I guess those are my three for 2022, which just felt great. So yeah. And now, but before we go, everybody, and we're going to end with our last question, we do want to say we want to start your reading off right for 2023. So some details will be in the comments below, but we want to give a $25 gift certificate to bookshop.org to anyone. We're going to pick a winner from the comments you leave below, where the details will be written, about your best read for 2022. Now, if you also want to add in your comment what's bringing you joy today, please feel free, because as you know, that is the last question we always ask. So Rachel, what is bringing you joy today?
This is going to sound kind of funny because, but we recently had Thanksgiving last month, and I made homemade pies, and my 5-year-old asked for pie for breakfast the next morning. And there was something, and I used to get up both Christmas and Thanksgiving as a kid and really anticipate that breakfast slice of pie. I know it's nutritionally sound. She also had a sound breakfast beforehand, but there was something just joyful about making pies together with my 5-year-old. And she helped me roll out the crust, and she helped me make the filling. And then the next morning we enjoyed that slice of post-holiday pie together. And that was bringing me joy thinking about it. Even now, just the holidays, have just happened, and thinking about all the cooking and the baking and doing things with the next generation has been really fun. So breakfast pie and cooking and baking with my kids.
That is fabulous. Marie?
Well, I think maybe you noticed I'm here in my New Year's bling. So,
You do look good.
Right?
I look comfy. You look good.
I want to rise to the occasion. Because you know what's bringing me joy? The anticipation of a new year. I've got some really great things. I've got a book coming out in 2023, and I'm really excited about that, called Oh my gosh, the name of my book just went right out of my brain. Esme Cahill failed spectacularly. This is what happened. So that's exciting. And then the other exciting, I'm working on a book and I am having more joy on a daily basis working on this new book than I probably.
And it's really good.
So I'm pumped about that. Catherine, what's bringing you joy today, my darling?
The crazy thing is that we did not discuss this beforehand, which sort of feels like I'm glomming onto both your joys. But my kids are out of college or in the final years of college, and we've just had a beautiful Christmas. And I just kind of feel like there aren't many of those left. They will have spouses. They will have jobs where, flying across the country home for those 2 days they get off isn't going to happen. And so it really more than any other year felt like this precious moment in time. And I loved it. But that said, I am so darn excited about 2023. Again, I also have a book coming out, A Shadow in Moscow. And I loved writing that book. I loved those characters. I love the one that I'm working on. The manuscript will be due in summer of 2023. And I'm loving that. And it's sort of like the chapter opening before me is really exciting. So that brings me joy. So anyway,
that's awesome.
Great new year.
I know, a new year. So readers, we want to thank you so much for being with us throughout 2022. We hope you'll stick with us for more fun, more engagement, more chats in 2023, and leave a comment for that bookshop.org gift certificate. So the 10-minute bookshop or 10-minute book talk signing off for 2022, and we'll see you next year. Bye-bye.